We are living in a world of static nouns, while our actual experience is entirely made of verbs. Most of us spend our lives frantically building a monument to a person who doesn't actually exist. We cling to our names, our labels, and our fixed personalities as if they were solid granite, terrified that the inevitable march of time will shatter the thing we call me. This shatter-anxiety is the root of modern burnout. We are tired of the duty of being a thing when every cell in our body wants to be a happening. In this episode of Philosophical First Aid, we explore the liberating truth that you are a pattern, not a thing. You don't have to protect a self that is already part of the infinite river. It's time to let the statue crumble and let the river flow. We spend our entire lives frantically building a monument to a person who doesn't actually exist. We cling to our names, our histories, and our physical bodies as if they were solid granite. Yet we are haunted by the feeling that everything is slipping through our fingers. We seek security and permanence, but the harder we grip, the more we suffer. We look at ourselves as objects to be preserved, rather than experiences to be felt. We treat our identities like precious glass vases, living in a constant state of shatter-anxiety, terrified that a single mistake or the inevitable march of time will destroy the thing we call me. Now, let us explore the profound wisdom that lies not in adding, but in letting go. In the ordinary world of the modern human, there is a fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be alive. We have been taught, from the very first moment we could understand language, that we are things. We are objects that move through space. We are containers that hold thoughts and feelings. We look at our birth certificates, our social security numbers, and our reflection in the mirror, and we say, "This is me. This is the solid, unchanging entity that will endure from birth until the grave." We treat ourselves like a statue in a park, perhaps weathering over time, but essentially the same piece of stone, fixed and separate from the grass and the air around it. But this perception is the root of our most chronic anxieties. When you believe you are a thing, you become obsessed with self-preservation. You worry about the thing getting damaged, the thing losing its value, or the thing eventually being destroyed by time. We live in a state of high alert, defensive warfare, trying to protect a static identity in a universe that is fundamentally fluid. This is the ordinary world of our psychological hero, a state of perpetual tension where we are exhausted by the effort of trying to be a noun in a world that is entirely made of verbs. We are nouns trying to survive in a grammar of movement, and the friction is what we call stress. Alan Watts invited us to look closer at this statue we call the self. He challenged us to see that the feeling of being a permanent thing is a biological and psychological hallucination. If you take a photograph of yourself today and compare it to a photograph from 10 years ago, you might say, "That is me 10 years ago." But scientifically and biologically speaking, that is a lie. Nearly every atom that composed your body a decade ago has been replaced. Your cells have died and been reborn. Your skin has shed. Your bones have remodeled. You are not the same stuff. You have breathed out the carbon of your old self and breathed in the atmosphere of the world. You have consumed the energy of plants and animals, and you have discarded the old structures of your existence. If you were truly a thing, you would be a stagnant pool of dead matter, but you are not. You are a throughput. You are a constant, shimmering exchange of energy. The you of today is a different collection of atoms than the you of yesterday. The only thing that remains consistent is not the stuff, but the pattern. To understand this, Watts used the famous metaphor of the whirlpool. When you look at a whirlpool in a fast-moving stream, it has a distinct shape. You can point to it, you can name it. It looks like a permanent object sitting in the water, defying the current. But if you look closely, you see that the water is moving through the whirlpool at incredible speed. The whirlpool is the movement of the water. It is a stable pattern of behavior in a constantly changing medium. If the water stops moving, the whirlpool vanishes. The whirlpool has no substance of its own. It is an event, a performance of the river. You are that whirlpool. Your body is a stable pattern of energy through which the universe is flowing. You are the way the atmosphere, the soil, and the sun are currently whirling at this particular point in space and time. But because we are obsessed with the thingness of life, we ignore the flow and try to grasp the pattern. We are like someone who tries to catch a whirlpool in a bucket to take it home. The moment you catch the water in the bucket, the whirlpool is gone. All you have is a bucket of stagnant water. This is exactly what we do when we try to define ourselves by our achievements, our possessions, or our rigid personality traits. We are trying to put the whirlpool in a bucket, and we wonder why the magic, the vitality of life has disappeared. This brings us to the tragedy of stagnation. We feel burned out, bored, and anxious because we are trying to live as static nouns. We think that if we can just reach a certain level of success or find the perfect version of ourselves, we will be finished. We want to be done, but in a universe of process, to be done is to be dead. The taboo that Watts spoke of is the unspoken agreement to ignore our flowing nature. Society encourages us to be reliable, consistent, and fixed. We are told that changing our minds is a weakness, and that losing ourselves is a tragedy. But a river that doesn't change is a ditch. A mind that doesn't flow is a dogma. We have traded the freedom of the river for the security of the ditch, and we wonder why we feel so trapped. Consider the metaphor of the musical note. When you hear a note played on a violin, you don't think of it as a thing like a brick or a stone. You know it is a vibration, a frequency. The note exists only in the doing. If the violinist stops moving the bow, the note is gone. You cannot save a note in a box for later. You cannot possess it. You can only experience it while it is happening. Our life is a long, complex musical note. It is a vibration of the cosmos, yet we spend all our time trying to turn the song of our life into a monument. We want the security of the monument, but we crave the beauty of the song. This contradiction is what creates the call to adventure, the nagging feeling that there is a way to live that doesn't involve this constant, fearful clutching. The anxiety of overthinking is essentially the mind trying to solve the problem of change. We think that if we can plan enough, if we can analyze our past enough, we can create a permanent me that is safe from the ravages of time. We use our thoughts to build a fortress around our noun self. But the more we think, the more we realize that the walls are made of sand. The I who thinks is just as much a flow as the body that breathes. By trying to catch the thinker, we are again trying to put the whirlpool in a bucket. The ordinary world is a world of labels. We say, I am a doctor. I am a failure. I am a victim. I am a success. These labels are the bricks of our statue. We think they give us identity, but they actually give us density. They make us heavy. They make us resistant to the natural flow of the universe. The hero feels this heaviness as a kind of existential fatigue. We are tired of being someone. We are tired of the taboo that prevents us from realizing that we are actually the process itself. We are tired of the duty of being a thing when every cell in our body wants to be a happening. The mentor's voice, the wisdom of Alan Watts, invites us to look at the pattern without the clinging. Look at a candle flame. It looks like a solid, tear-shaped object, but it is actually a continuous chemical reaction. The flame is the event of the wax turning into gas and light. You don't ask, where does the flame go when the candle is blown out? Because you know the flame wasn't a thing to begin with. It was a happening dependent on specific conditions. When the conditions change, the happening ceases, but the energy remains part of the total field. We are
current happenings.
We are humaning in the same way that the ocean is waving. The wave is not separate from the ocean. It is something the ocean is doing at that moment. The wave doesn't have a life. The wave is a life. But if the wave thinks it is a thing separate from the water, it will be terrified of the shore. It will spend its whole journey across the sea trying to save its waveness. Only when the wave realizes it is the ocean, the total process, can it crash on the shore with a sense of completion rather than a sense of destruction. This realization is the crossing of the threshold. We are leaving the world of solid things and entering the world of vibrant patterns. We are moving from the fear of losing our identity to the joy of being the flow. This is our philosophical first aid, a treatment that stops the internal bleeding caused by our sharp, jagged definitions of ourselves. It allows the heart to beat without the interference of the controller. It allows the mind to think without the burden of the thinker. The special world we are entering is the world of the verb. Here, the I is not a master, but a transaction. You are a transaction between the air and the lungs, between the light and the eyes. You are what the universe is doing right here, right now. When you stop trying to be a thing, you finally have the freedom to be a process. You no longer have to worry about your self because you realize that the self is not a possession you hold. It is a dance you are performing. As we move into the trials of the second act, we will learn to deconstruct the biological bag and see the cosmic energy flowing through it. We will learn to trade our security for serenity. The journey toward the victory begins with the simple, breathtaking realization. There is no statue, there is only the river. And you, my friend, are the river. You have crossed the threshold. The stone monument of the permanent me has crumbled, and you are standing in the ruins of your own definitions. Now we enter the second act of our journey, the stage of trials, where we must look directly into the furnace of reality and see how the self is actually constructed. To find the victory, we must deconstruct the most persistent hallucination of human history, the belief that you are a passenger inside a biological vehicle. The first trial of the hero is the trial of biological reality. We speak of our bodies as if they were property. We say, my body, my heart, my brain, as if there were a ghostly I that owns these organs. But if you look for this owner, where is it? If you are the owner of your brain, who is the you that owns it? You cannot find a pilot inside the head. You find only a magnificent, shimmering web of neurons, firing in response to the world. You don't have a nervous system. You are a nervous system. And a nervous system is not a thing, it is a process of communication. Alan Watts invited us to consider the body as a tube. From a purely topological perspective, a human being is a tube with a hole at both ends. Food goes in one end and waste comes out the other. We are a continuous flow of energy and matter. We think of ourselves as solid, but we are more like a fountain. A fountain looks like a distinct object, but it is actually a constant stream of water, rising and falling. The fountain is the shape that the water takes as it passes through a specific point. If you turn off the water, the fountain doesn't die, the doing simply stops. You are a human-ing fountain. The atoms of the world flow into you as food and air, and they flow out of you as breath, heat, and waste. You are a local eddy in the universal stream of carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. Why then is the taboo against knowing this so strong? Because the social order depends on you believing you are a responsible individual trapped in a bag. If you realize you were the total process of the universe tubing itself at this location, the game of me versus you would lose its competitive edge. Society requires isolated units so it can assign blame, distribute rewards, and maintain a sense of linear progress. We have been socialized to ignore the transaction. We see the figure, the person, and we ignore the ground, the environment. But look at the relationship between a flower and the soil. Is the flower a thing that lives in the soil? Or is the flower the way the soil flowers? Without the sun, the rain, and the minerals, the flower is non-existent. The flower is not an object, it is an event of the ecosystem. In the same way, you are an event of the total environment. You are not in the world, you are a doing of the world. The trial of the hero is to accept that your boundaries are not walls, but interfaces. Your skin is not where you end, it is where the world touches you. This brings us to the illusion of the pilot. We feel that I am the one making decisions. I am the one who chooses to walk, to speak, to think. But if you watch the process of walking, you realize you don't know how you do it. You don't know which muscles to contract or how to balance your center of gravity. Your body walks itself. Even your thoughts think themselves. A thought pops into your head and then you claim it as mine. But where did it come from? It arose from the total field of your history, your biology, and your current environment. To believe you are the source of your thoughts is like a wave believing it is the source of the ocean's movement. The trial here is the fear of loss of control. The ego screams, if I am just a process, if I am not the pilot, then I am helpless. I am just a leaf in the wind. But the mentor answers, you are not the leaf, you are the wind as well. When you realize you are the process, you realize that the intelligence of the universe is your intelligence. You don't have to control your heart to make it beat. It beats with the same intelligence that makes the stars shine. By letting go of the pilot, you don't become a victim, you become the flight. You move from the anxiety of trying to manage to the grace of allowing to happen. Consider the problem of memory. We feel like a permanent thing because we have memories. We remember being 5 years old and we think, that was me. But the 5-year-old is gone. Every atom of that child has been replaced. The only thing that remains is the pattern of the story. Memory is like a movie film. When you watch a movie, you see a person moving on the screen. But there is no person on the screen. There is only a rapid succession of static images, flickering so fast that they create the illusion of a continuous thing. Yourself is a cinematic illusion created by the rapid-fire flicker of memory. We are processing so fast that we look solid. The hero must face the trial of vulnerability. If you are a thing, you can be saved. You can be put in a museum. You can be protected. But if you are a process, you are inherently insecure. A flame cannot be saved. It can only be fed. A song cannot be saved. It can only be sung. To accept that you are a process is to accept that you are fundamentally impermanent. This is the great taboo of the West, the fear of death. We spend billions of dollars trying to freeze the process, to keep the statue from weathering. But the weathering is the life. The change is the beauty. Imagine a music box. The beauty of the music is that the notes end. If a note refused to pass away, if it stayed forever, it would become a hideous, unchanging screech. The music exists only because the notes are willing to die. Your life is beautiful because it is a passing away. You are a glow that exists in the transition between what was and what will be. When you stop trying to save the note, you can finally hear the song. This leads us to the ecological trial. Because we think we are things, we treat the world as stuff to be used. We think we can conquer nature. But as Watts reminded us, you are a symptom of nature. If you win the war against nature, you are on the losing side. You are the environment. If you poison the water, you are poisoning your own external blood. If you clear-cut the forest, you are cutting down your own external lungs. The Soku Trit Hop, philosophical first aid, here is the realization that self-interest and environmental interest are exactly the same thing. You are not an island, you are a network. The tests and allies of this stage are the moments in your life when the ego noun fails you. When you experience flow in a sport, in art, or in love, those are your allies. In those moments, the pilot disappears, and there is only the doing. There is no, I am playing tennis. There is only tennis-ing. There is no, I love you. There is only loving. These are the aha moments where the taboo is momentarily lifted, and you feel the immense relief of being a process. The enemies are your habits of thought, the chattering narrator that wants to turn the dance back into a task. The mentor invites us to see the figure ground polarity. Think of a drawing of a white bird on a black background. Most people focus on the bird, but the bird is only visible because of the black background. The you, the figure, and the world, the ground, are one indivisible system. You cannot have in without out. You cannot have subject without object. Therefore, you are not in the world. You are a transaction with the world. You are a wiggle in the total field of energy. As we approach the end of the second act, we must face the ordeal of the ego death. This is not a physical death, but the death of a concept. It is the moment when you realize that the I, who was so worried about its future, is just a mental abstraction, a ghost in the machine. You realize that you don't have a life. You are life. You don't have atoms. The atoms are doing you. This is the ultimate letting go. It is like falling into a bottomless pit, only to realize that there is no bottom, so you might as well fly. The victory is near, but it requires a total surrender of the thing identity. You must be willing to be nothing so that you can be the total process. You must be willing to let the statue crumble entirely so that the river can flow unobstructed. We are moving from the ordinary world of static nouns into the special world of dynamic wholeness. The desire for this freedom is now a roaring flame. You are no longer satisfied with being a person. You want to be the presence. You are ready to return to your life, not as a manager of a biological machine, but as a conscious pattern of the infinite. We are preparing to cross the final threshold where the Soku Triet Hank becomes a way of being. The taboo is breaking. The skin-encapsulated myth is dissolving. You are beginning to feel the rhythm of the universe in your own heartbeat. You are realizing that you are the Big Bang, still happening, still exploring, still human-ing. We are ready for the return. The hero returns to the shores of the ordinary world, but we do not return as the same frightened fragment who left. The victory we carry, the elixir of this journey, is the realization that you are a pattern, not a thing. You return to your job, your family, and your mirror, but the heavy, stagnant air of self-preservation has been replaced by the light, fresh breeze of self-expression. You have found the philosophical first aid for the modern soul. The understanding that you are the river, and the river is never in danger of losing its water. When you step back into your daily life, the streets look the same, but the way you walk them has changed. Before this journey, you were a noun trying to survive a hostile world. Now you are a verb dancing with the cosmos. The first victory of the returning hero is the end of the war with time. Most of our anxiety stems from the belief that we are things that have time and that we are running out of it. But if you are a process, you don't have time. You are the movement that we measure as time. You cannot waste time any more than a song can waste its notes. Every moment of your patterning is a complete performance of the universe. The victory is the freedom to be impermanent. In our culture, we are obsessed with legacy and longevity. We want our thing self to last forever. But consider the rainbow. A rainbow is a magnificent pattern of light and color. It appears when the conditions of sun and rain are just right. You cannot go to the end of the rainbow and find a thing made of colors. It has no substance. It is a happening of light. Yet its lack of substance doesn't make it any less beautiful. In fact, is the fleeting, transparent nature of the rainbow that gives it its magic. You are a biological rainbow. You are a refraction of cosmic energy through the water of your cells. When the rain stops or the sun sets, the rainbow doesn't die, the conditions for its appearance simply change. When you embrace your nature as a pattern, you find the victory of true security. Real security is not found by building walls around the whirlpool. Real security is found by realizing that you are the water. A person who identifies as a thing is always afraid of change. But a person who identifies as a process is change. You cannot be threatened by transformation when transformation is your very identity. This is the ultimate Soku Chithap, the healing of the existential wound. You no longer need to protect your identity because you realize that your identity is not a fortress, but a flow. You are like a flame. You are most alive when you are most actively consuming and transforming the world around you. This leads to the transformation of action. Most of us live in a state of chronic effort. We are always trying to get somewhere, to achieve something, to fix ourselves. This is the ego trying to sculpt the statue. But the hero who understands the pattern moves into a state of wu-wei, effortless action. You realize that you don't have to make your life happen any more than you have to make your heartbeat. Your life is happening you. When you stop trying to drive the process, you find that the process has a magnificent intelligence of its own. You act with the spontaneity of a tree growing or a bird flying. You are no longer struggling to live. You are being lived by the total energy of the universe. In your relationships, this victory manifests as deep compassion. When you see yourself as a thing, you see others as things, competitors, obstacles, or tools. But when you see yourself as a process, you see that the other is simply another wiggle of the same ocean. The person standing in front of you is a different whirlpool in the same stream. Their atoms are flowing in from the same world, and their breath is being breathed by the same atmosphere. To hurt them is to disrupt the flow of your own larger body. The taboo against knowing who you are is the only thing that keeps us from loving one another as ourselves. Once the taboo is lifted, love is not a moral duty, it is a biological recognition of the shared pattern. The elixir you bring back also heals the fear of death. Death is only a tragedy for a thing. If a statue is smashed, it is gone. But if a dance ends, nothing has been lost. The dancer simply takes a breath and perhaps begins a new dance. You have realized that yourself is a pattern of information, much like a melody or a mathematical formula. A melody can be played on a piano, then on a violin, then on a flute. The stuff changes, but the melody remains. Your pattern is a way the universe organizes itself. When this particular biological instrument wears out, the universe doesn't lose the information of who you are. It simply expresses that pattern in a new key through a new instrument. Now, for the action, the invitation to live this victory. I invite you to conduct a simple sensory flow experiment. Sit quietly for a moment. Instead of thinking of yourself as a person inside a room, try to experience yourself as a field of sensation. Feel the weight of your body, not as my weight, but as the earth pulling on you. Feel the air on your skin, not as outside air, but as a tactile transaction. Listen to the sounds, not as noises out there, but as vibrations happening in your awareness. Notice that there is no boundary where the sensation stops and you begin. You are the field in which these patterns are dancing. In this state, the chattering mind, the thinker who wants to be a thing, begins to go quiet. You find a stillness that is not the stillness of a rock, but the stillness of a spinning top. You are perfectly centered because you are perfectly in motion. This is the victory over overthinking. Overthinking is just the mind trying to freeze the flow. But when you are the flow, there is nothing to freeze. You are the conscious whirlpool, and the water is magnificent. As you go about your day, remember the divine wit of Alan Watts. When you feel the old habits of the thing self returning, when you feel the tension of self-defense or the weight of identity, just smile. Remind yourself, here is the river pretending to be a statue again. That simple recognition is the ce que triet hoc that brings you back to reality. You can play the role of a person. You can use your name, follow your schedule, and fulfill your duties. But you do it sincerely, not seriously. You play the role as a great actor plays a part with total commitment, but with the secret knowledge that when the play is over, you are the total process of the universe. The taboo is gone. The skin-encapsulated ego has been seen for what it is. A useful social fiction, like the equator or a line of latitude. You have moved from being a helpless victim of life to being the total event of life. You have discovered that you don't have a life, you are life. And life is not something that happens to you, it is something that is doing you. The hero's journey ends where it began, but the home you return to is now a cosmic home. You are no longer an island, you are the seabed. You are no longer a wave, you are the ocean. You are no longer a thing destined to disappear. You are a pattern that is eternally being rewritten in the book of the cosmos. Welcome back to the flow. Welcome home to the it. The philosophy of the human as a process reveals that our fear of change and death is based on the false belief that we are static objects. By recognizing that we are stable patterns of energy like whirlpools in a stream, we find a profound peace that transcends the need for permanence. We return to life with the lightness of a dancer, realizing that our true identity is the total, flowing process of the universe itself.